Hello, fellow cyborgs, mini update wrap up, here we come! So I read a bunch of books and I've been behind on updating you, and I want to talk about some of them, and I've talked about other ones in other videos you will have seen or may have seen, may will be seeing, so I'm gonna go through this pretty quickly, so buckle up. I finished No Great Mischief by Alistair MacLeod. I talked about this in one of my videos. I tried the chapter to see if I was going to unhaul it, and then I decided, no, I'll keep reading it. This follows Alexander MacDonald and his family. We start when he's visiting his older brother in Toronto, who is dying of alcoholism, and then we kind of go back in time in Alexander's memories and learn about his family. It was pretty good. I ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars. The ending wasn't my favorite, and when I saw where things were going, I was a little bit less impressed because I first thought it was just Alexander examining his ancestry and his heritage, but then it kind of ends up being about how his brother came to be in the state Alexander finds him in the first chapter. And as much as that's like full circle, complete storytelling, it was just a little bit less impressive, I guess, for me. I also found that some of the most impactful writing was about his oldest ancestors, and that becomes less of a thing in the second half of this. We follow Alexander with his own memories rather than hearing about his family members he never met. So I definitely know why this is an important and acclaimed book, but it didn't like super tickle my fancy, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I guess I'm glad I read it, but it also, didn't change my world. Waterfalls of Stars by Roseanne Alexander. My 10 Years on the Island of Skomer is a bit of a booktube darling right now. I think a lot of people are picking it up, or at least buying it, but not a lot of people are reading it. I'm not sure, I haven't done my, my research. I'm just generalizing. I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars, even though it took me months to finish this. Roseanne Alexander's writing style is incredibly beautiful and lyrical and almost dreamlike, which is good and bad. Good because it is beautiful, bad because the chapters kind of flow in and out, and even though each chapter does end up having a theme or a central story, that's not apparent from the outset. And with my nonfiction, I like knowing what my chapter is going to be about and then learning about that thing. It starts kind of chronological, with each chapter is a year or a season, but then it kind of gets quicker paced toward the end. Overall though, even though I read the first half in like 1 month and then waited a couple months and read the second half, that did not mar my reading experience, which says a lot. Most of the time, if I don't finish a book within 4 weeks of starting it, it's not going to get highly rated from me. Because of that dreamlike in and out quality, this was at points I felt pointless. I didn't understand where the author was going with the story right this moment, but overall, this is an extraordinary nonfiction. I do think it highly deserves the praise it has been getting, and if you think that you could get into nature nonfiction, I think this is a good place to start. If you enjoy beautiful writing, this is a good book to pick up. If you want to hear about birds, go for it. Also a good choice. If you like hearing descriptions of the ocean and waves and that don't get boring and repetitive, do the thing. So it's really just my personal preference that made this a 4 rather than a 5-star read, because this definitely is a gem and more praises need to be sung about this than even there already is on BookTube. I reread Ancillary Justice by Ann Leckie with Sarai from Sarai Talks Books, and I love this book so much. It's definitely more hard sci-fi, as Sarai said. You kind of have to, it's a book that rewards your perseverance and your paying attention for sure. If you're new to sci-fi, I think this would be very disorienting, but it's so good and the payoff is amazing, and I want to drop everything and read the 2 other books, but I will be patient and wait till 2020. I just love this series incredibly. So what do you need to know about this book and why you should pick it up? So Breck is awesome. She's AI in a part of a society that is genderless in their noun usage, which is just an interesting little, like, cherry on top of the awesome cake. Talking about gender and stuff and is it important and things. And Breck had something really awful happen to her, and she's getting revenge. The first half is in dual timelines, where as we're seeing Breck on her very determined path of revenge, we're also slowly learning why she is seeking this revenge, upon whom she is seeking this revenge, and over whom's dead body she's seeking revenge. She ends up falling in with this guy named Savardin, who's a classist asshole, but also the kind of delightful. Their relationship warms my heart. And it's not romantic. Yay! I just love hearing about the Rajshai culture. I want to drink tea and have pins of patronage. I love this trilogy so much, and you should try it. It's worth your time and energy, I promise. I was recently gifted a collection of Sappho's poems, Stung with Love, Poems and Fragments. This is a Penguins classic, as you can see. I've been wanting to try Sappho's poetry for quite a while, and one of my friends gifted this to me and made it possible, or more possible than it would be of putting something I hold in the library. I give this 3 out of 5 stars. There's not a lot of actual Sappho's writing in here. There's more writing from... who is it? There's definitely a lot more text by Aaron Pachigian, who wrote the introduction and notes to the fragmentary poems. I didn't read those. It's partly because it's the end of the year and I want things off my physical TBR, and partly because I want to read Sappho's poetry. I don't want to read someone telling me about Sappho's poetry. This is a new translation, and I'm not sure if I liked it. I've heard other people quote poems by Sappho, which seemed really epic and awesome, and reading those same poems in a different translation was not as epic and awesome as I thought. So I don't know if I was rushing through this or the translation is not as good as other ones. I will reread this with the notes. I think that will be a lot more of an enriching experience. But for now, I'm happy to have tried her work, and she was pretty cool. The proof of the First Lady poet proof. So I DNF'd Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. So I got the audiobook, and the narrator is awesome, but in the first 5% of the audiobook, there were like 5 different rapes that we heard about, and I just can't deal with that. If I'm wrong, tell me. I will still have the audiobook in my possession, but I just really... This is part of the reason why dystopians aren't my favorite, because a lot of them are just like, and then rape happens all the time because the world is shit. And I just really don't want to read about that. So those were the books that I wanted to talk to you about that I finished that I haven't talked about in other recent videos. So apart from the Sappho poems and also Being Mortal by Atul Gawande, which was amazing and you need to read it and it's one of my favorite books of the year, I also was given 2 more books. Haven't bought myself anything because I've been a good girl. I'm a liar. I did buy myself something. Well, I needed free shipping from Powell's, okay? They alerted me that The Half-Sisters by Geraldine Jewsbury was finally available, and I was like, oh, for $2.50, I will 100% will own that Victorian classic that is out of print. So I do have The Half-Sisters to read. It comes highly recommended from Katie from Books and Things, about books about gender and I think also class and also other things. She did but anyway, I want to read this. I've been wanting to read it for a couple years, but I wanted a physical copy and now I finally have one, even though someone was pretty intense with their highlighting, so that'll be an experience. But apart from those other 2 that I was talking about, I was also gifted the first 2 books in Philip Pullman's Victorian Mystery series, which is called something. I don't know what the series is called, guys, but it starts with The Ruby in the Smoke and then The Shadow in the North. I have seen the movie adaptations of these 2 with Billy Piper and J.J. Field and his very cute bum. Don't objectify people. It's not good, Amanda. And these are Victorian mysteries written by Philip Pullman, and I'm excited to try them, though I think I'm going to make my mom read them first and then hear her thoughts. But I will definitely try them because I give try. Victorian, I do the ting. So that puts my physical TBR at 22, which is pretty darn good. If I didn't have an amazing, lovely friend, and if I hadn't bought Half-Sisters, oopsie, then I would be in the teens right now, but that's okay. We have plans. We're going to be a reading machine. I'm not going to get a 0 TBR by the end of this year, but if I can be in the teens, the low teens, I'd be happy. So let me talk to you about what I am currently actively reading. This is like a bad joke at this point. I'm still reading You Know He Was Right by Anthony Trollope. I've only 300 pages left. I mean, I've been reading it for three months at this point, which, like I said before when I was talking about Waterfalls of Stars, if I'm reading this for more than 4 weeks, that tends to affect how I view this book, and that is happening at this point. I'm still enjoying it. I still cerebrally recognize that the subplots and all of the conversations in here are really interesting, but when I go to binge read this, I read 3 chapters and then I do something else. Not the best. Fingers crossed I finish this by the end of the year, maybe? I mean, I'm nearly there and I'm still enjoying it, but you know, there's a lot of text on the pages and there's a lot of them pages, so it takes time. I also just picked up World's End by Joan D. Vinge. This is the second novel in the Snow Queen series. The Snow Queen was the first book and this is the second one. I know this is countering my wanting to read He Knew He Was Right, but sometimes you just need some reading traction. I started reading this last night. I am already like 84 pages in, so this is way more readable. There's a lot less text on these tinier and smaller number of pages, so I'm hoping to finish this before the end of November, maybe? That would be nice. And then I also have a bunch of other things that I want to finish by the end of the year, but I'm going to put that into a separate video so that I don't keep talking in this one. Please let me know in the comments down below what you thought about A Ruby and Smoke. If you have read it, I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, continue to be lovely.